Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's putting away his Halloween costume of a duck. I'm talking about ducks because I'm talking about duck season Tiger Style by Mach-Hommy and the god Fahim. Now you might wonder, what has taken me so long? This album has been out for weeks. If you've been following my channel, you know that I consider Mach-Hommy to be probably the best discovery since I started paying attention to new music and started doing this channel. I love his style, I love the way he talks about his Haitian roots, I love the way he rhymes, I love his beat selection, I just love everything about him. But this album upset me. And there's sort of two reasons why it's taken me so long to review it. Now, the first one is kind of a positive reason. And for that, I'm going to have another prop here. I just got this in the mail from Miami, from Zotanica, which is Mach-Hommy's merch store. So you got some wooden nickels and some, I don't know, matchbooks. Won't use those probably. Save those as memorabilia. But I ordered the album Balance Show. That was an EP he came out with last year. And I bring this up because it's sort of my issue with this and other projects like it. Like the Dump God series. Ooh, little mat right there. Ah, man, look at this album cover. So I'm just going to put that back there. Little unboxing. Thank you to my Patreons for giving me the money to be able to afford to buy an album for $200. You know, I bought that for $200, okay? Because I love Mach-Hommy so much. Yet, I almost didn't review this project. And part of it is that he has two different modes, it seems. Like, it seems like he has the sort of very, very serious, always for posterity mode, like we see in Pray for Haiti, like we see for Balance Show or HBO, where he's really making like his sort of top-level masterworks. And then he has these Dump God, the Duck Seasons, the Dollar Menu, where he's sort of intentionally, unintentionally, not necessarily holding back, but just giving a different kind of product. Less about personal growth. I mean, this album is a great album about self-love and personal growth. And also, you know, less about history and about Haiti and about America and about institutional racism, and much more just based on different ways that he can flip you. He can flip you like this, he can flip you like that, he can flip you with a tennis ball bat. So, like, when he releases these new albums, I like them, and you're going to see. Like, this is going to be a very positive review. I like Duck Seasons, Tiger Style, and it's great for what it is, but I'm spoiled. You know, I'm spoiled by the fact that within 1 year he came out with Balance Show and Pray for Haiti, and I love his top level stuff so much that sometimes I get a little bit it's basically like the shadow of Mach-Hommy makes it hard for me to appreciate the other Mach-Hommy projects in his own shadow. There's another more specific reason that I'm going to get into, and I'm going to get a little preachy about by the end of the episode. Actually, I'm going to leave that for the end. So I'll start off the episode why I didn't review this, because it is not on that same level of some of his other projects. And then the other reason is much more specific, which I will tell you at the very, very end. Now, the thing about Balance Show, you know, I said it's a 24-minute album that feels like 24 hours because it's so dense. Duck Season, Tiger Style does not have that same effect. It feels like 24 minutes, but it feels like very strong 24 minutes. I always kind of struggle with the god Fahim. Usually the first time I listen to a project with him and Mach, I'm sort of like, and then by the time I've listened to it 4 or 5 times, I'm like, yeah, like I love his style, I love his rhymes. The more I get used to their interplay, the less I feel like I'm just waiting for Mach's verses. I will say that what I like about the god Fahim, and I'm just realizing this now, is he may be the most Wu-Tang rapper of all of this invisible renaissance. And it's not that he sounds like any Wu-Tang member in particular, but there's something about the way, like his cadence and his flow and the way he uses similes. It's hard because, you know, this is my hobby and I talk a lot about rap music and I talk for hours and hours. And I'm usually able to come up with a very firm reason why. But I'm afraid I don't know exactly why. Why does the god Fahim feel like he would be the easiest to just jump on to the Wu-Tang Clan, to just be an affiliate member or be a member. Feel free to tell me in the comments if you think you can put that into words. The production, as always, is great. Basically half and half, Sadhu Gold and Nicholas Craven. Speaking of which, I'm doing a giveaway. I talked about this on my Instagram. This is, I think, Nicholas Craven's best work, Hull by D-Track. It's in French Canadian. This is an extra copy that the record company, Novelty Records, sent me. I'm giving this away. So go tell me your favorite track off of this album in the comments of my review of this album. Fun idea. Why not? I'm not used to record companies sending me stuff. So let's talk about this album. Let's go more into specifics. And I'm going to start off with a stamp from the aforementioned Nicholas Craven. This is my example song. Click on the banana, above the picture of Mach-Hommy, above the book by Bell Hooks, with the song Turbo Tariff. As always, an evocative, unclear title. And the sample here, you know how sometimes at the beginning of a sample, you know, like the rapper will say like, "Oh, you're crazy for this one," whatever your name is. This is a "you're crazy for this one." I think this is a Barbra Streisand sample. It's at least a song that was made famous by Barbra Streisand. And I'm not sample snitching, okay? He's not even trying to hide the lyrics here. What's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget. That's the way we were. That's Barbra Streisand. That's just that. That's you know, that'd be like if someone sampled My Way, you know? But as always, Craven can take the cheesiest song and cut it up and pair it with rappers in such a way that it just becomes totally badass. And that's totally what he does. Right off the bat, you know, we have Mach's verse, "Whosoever chooses to wear the clown shoes, let him flop." Just, again, you know, like who knows? You know, maybe in the comments someone will explain to me that clown shoes refers to a specific... in Newark in the 90s, if you were a criminal on the streets and you wore a certain kind of shoe, that meant you were affiliated with a certain set, and that's what it means. And "let them flop" is another way of saying just start shooting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I never know what Mach-Hommy is talking about. He doesn't want me to know what he's talking about. That's part of the reason that I like him so much, that he takes his lyrics away, that he provides no explanation, that there is no genius for his genius. Right? Because that's the trick. You take away all your lyrics, there's no genius for your genius. You just have to work it out. I really love all the way throughout this album, and that's the thing, is that really for all of his projects, even these projects, which are minor, you know, his minor works, we can say that, right? Like if you're like a big Mach fan and you're super disappointed in me because, you know, you feel like I'm one of the few people who understands how great Mach is, minor works is not an insult to the artist. All great artists have minor works, right? That's just the way that it is. It just happens to be that with the current way the Invisible Renaissance rappers are working and producers are working, they just crank out so much stuff that sometimes it's hard to separate the sheep from the goats, you know, to figure out what is the minor versus major work. But really, like when you listen to these minor projects, if you just focus, as an example, on the way his voice sounds from song to song, he can sound like 5 or 6 different rappers. I mean, there's a way where he says, I think he says, "I bet the crowd boo in the sock." I don't know what it means to boo in a sock. You know, he has this kind of weird, kind of cracking voice. And then, like, he gets this on this sort of attack mode. "Masturbatory spirits picking the dog food out of dung. Effing jerk off, make sure you wash your hands before you dab me." Like, he's got this kind of funny and angry flow all the way throughout this song. And I'm sure I got some of those lyrics wrong. I'm just doing my best with what I hear. I get it. I understand now that dog food means heroin. Masturbatory spirits picking dog food out of dung. This is just something that I talk about every time I talk about Mach-Hommy, and I always end up bringing up Ghostface Killah, and someone always makes fun of me because Ghostface Killah is, you know, I think the Rakim of his generation in terms of his influence. Just the ability to put words together in ways that certainly make sense to him, don't make sense to you, and just create... You know, like, word salad isn't fair because that implies a lack of intentionality. So, like, But it is. It's a word salad, but it's a tasty salad. It's a word salade niçoise. You know, you ever have a salade niçoise? We got the tuna fish and the olives. You know, like everything like works together, but it's a little bit unexpected. Masturbatory spirits picking dog food out of dung. I don't know. I like it. And all the way throughout Nicholas Craven's beautiful usage of this sample, I can't figure out, this might not even be from Barbra Streisand's version of the song, because there's a male version. I looked up duets, and I only found Lionel Richie, and that voice in the background is not Lionel Richie. And then like there's a cool chorus, and I think it seems to me that what separates, and I understand that right now you're probably typing Sky, what you're talking about is the difference between an LP and an EP or a mixtape. I get it. I get that these things are mixtapes. Mixtapes are intentionally marketed and seen as lesser works. Okay, so like with these sort of mixtapes, certainly in these series, you know, the Dump God series and the Dollar Menu and now the Duck Season series, it seems that the songs are just a little bit less developed, less multiple verses from the same rapper, less beat changes within a song. But here he just has this great chorus where try to see about the nerve endings. If you can't feel what I feel, then you're a burden. My mic is swerving. F the world as it spins like a turban. It took me a while to realize he's not talking about a turban, like a head thing, like my little duck mask, but he's talking about a turbine. So F the world. But what I like about this is just in general the aggression in this whole verse. It starts right off with F and jerk off, make sure you wash your hands before you dap me. And then just here, but at the same time, what he's asking for is understanding. If I'm trying to see about the nerve endings, if you can't feel what I feel, then you're a burden. So like he's trying to figure out what actually matches him, like who can relate to him. He's looking for relation. And we get to the god Fahim. And again, it just comes across as very woo here. I don't know. The titles that I'm holding stay close like cellular phones. Maybe it's also that there's a certain corniness, which I hate to tell you, but Wu-Tang Clan is often quite corny. They're just so cool, you don't care. But you know, like I swing on you like your neighborhood Spider-Man. You know, it's just like lyrics, if you take them out of context, are just kind of goofy, you know. So titles I'm holding stay close like cellular phone. I play the post like Elijah Wan Hakeem. Yo Fahim is hot as a pool of hellfire. Really nice kind of rhyming Hakeem with Fahim and Elijah Wan. Post with phone. If you actually look at it and you did one of those like nerdy things where you highlight the different rhymes. So the titles that I'm told stay close like phone. So close phones post. And then Hakeem, Fahim, it's even Holden kind of has that interior rhyme with Olajuwon. You can Ripley's, believe it or not, no entity shall succeed in division, because we got. Your empire get retired when I'm calling them shots. Maybe I figured it out. Wu-Tang Clan is the best at using big words mixed in with somewhat goofy pop culture references. No entity shall succeed in division. Can't you imagine the RZA saying something like that? While at the same time talking about Hakeem Olajuwon and Ripley's Believe It or Not. But the whole thing just comes together, and I think it's a very good example of why this is such a good project. Part of the problem, though, I'm just sitting here. I'm just like, I cannot wait. To listen to this. My hi-fi behind me. Man. Anyways. Sorry. Very, very exciting to get that in the mail. So I'm going to go through the rest of the tracks a little bit quicker. It opens up with the track Bone Straight, produced by Sadhu Gold. A very quiet beat. This song makes sense to me when I listen to the whole project on repeat, because the beginning and the end are both in this sort of quiet mode. The synthesizers are doing sort of like almost like a gallop. Some little guitar whispering Mach. He's in his whispering mode here. But then as he starts to rap, the drums come in and his rapping gets a little bit louder. It's a really great trick with the beat here. You can eat your own young, I'm going to raise my own dead. Just those kinds of Mach lyrics, which just kind of stick with you and you don't fully understand. At some point, he talks about speaking Haitian, no French, which I think is great and interesting. And the linguistic struggle between that Haitians have with the French language is quite interesting, obviously, because it's the language of the oppressor and the enslaver. And then the oppressor again. and now the reluctant, half-assed ally. I would say that's actually being way too kind to France. France should just have a tax, and like every dollar that someone makes in France, they send 50 cents to Haiti. Like, seriously. Sorry. It's, America should also have its own taxes. Political. And then he sings this sort of chorus, this one word, do you have a straight bone in your body? We get to Fahim. And again, maybe it's sort of, now that I figured it out, I feel good. Now that I figured out what is it about his style that makes me think of Wu-Tang. And like, that's not on my, I don't have a script, I don't have notes, I don't edit. So I didn't figure this out and then come back in. I'm figuring this out on the fly. This is improvised analysis here. But with this line, you face judgment like Judge Dredd. That's totally like a Method Man style, freestyle, in the cypher line. That's the kind of line that you just love and you think is just the coolest. And just like, how did he think of it? But then you actually go like, well, I mean, Judge Dredd doesn't face judgment. I mean, he's the judge itself. So it doesn't actually really work as a line. But it's awesome and it's cool. And then at the end, we have this great bit of kung fu. And I've been talking about the Wu-Tang, and I haven't even mentioned the fact that you call an album Tiger Style, and every hip-hop head in the world just goes, Tiger Style. Like I can't even see a tiger without going, Tiger Style. I can't even... I didn't even know the song wasn't called Tiger Style. In my mind, the song's called Tiger Style, not Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to F with. Just calling something Tiger Style is so audacious. like you might as well call your album, I don't know, Illmatish, something like that. Like something that just immediately makes you think of a great hip-hop classic. And so we had this line from what must be maybe a kung fu movie. After 2 years, when you do kung fu, you think that you're good at it, and after 20, you realize you're not so good. It's awesome. It's talking about this idea of how to be a great rapper. It's another crucial thing that's happening right now in hip-hop, where hip-hop, because it's alive, because it's a living art form, it still is an art for the young. Okay, so young people are always going to be more important than old people as long as rap is alive. Okay, so I don't want it to be that way. I'm an old guy. I'm Mach-Hommy's age. But the truth is, some 20-year-old kid from Atlanta is more important and more relevant, even if he's just singing about leans and chopper, okay? But hip-hop has managed to do something which most art forms have not been able to do, which is nurture older artists, allow older artists to still have a lane, to still have an income. They did in the beginning. The first generation of hip-hop has been terribly treated and impoverished, and some rap journalist made fun of the opening the old school rappers for not being rich. It's like they were robbed and forgotten. I wouldn't. Anyways, so the point is, this kind of line talking about the fact that you need to practice your art for a long time to be that good. It's starting to bear fruit. We're starting to see it. I mean, going back to Nas, I think Nas is better now than he was in the 90s. And we need to let artists grow, because rapping is hard. Being a good rapper is hard. Of course you're going to get better at it over time. So I like that. I really like this here. Next song is called Shakes Pairs, kind of a play on words for Shakespeare. We're going to see that is thematically linked to the rest of the song. Sadhu Gold and Nicholas Craven, I hope they're friends. I hope they hang out. I hope they get together in a room and they're like, hey, listen to this. And then the other one goes, damn it. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. All right, listen to this. And the other guy's like, damn it. Like, really, it's awesome. It's the opposite of Freddy versus Jason, Whenever these producers fight, we all win. I was talking about that, I think maybe on the Rome Streets album. Review, where we're sort of in a reverse Wu-Tang situation, where instead of having one producer and a bunch of rappers trying to fight to get airtime, we have like one rapper on an album and a bunch of producers fighting, and the end result is crazy beats like this, with this kung fu sounds and warbled and the bass line, these howling voices in the background. Sadhu Gold definitely, he's sort of rising in the ranks in my head when I hear beats like this. At times at the end, the beat like extends out behind Fahim's verse. This beat just absolutely kills. Mach-Hommy is totally obscure. I can't even understand most of the words that he's saying. Make your white belt beige, brown for nothing. If you wanted it black, it turned gray. I don't know. Makes reference to Rakim. Rakim, who played a concert in my hometown last week. I couldn't go because I have to be a dad. I had to take my daughter to her regatta. So I missed the Rakim and Styles P concert. I would have liked to see Styles P as well. I liked his last album. But Rakim is top 5. I missed him. Anyways, unlike Rakim, nothing funny when I'm rapping. I like that because it requires some hip-hop knowledge to know that he's talking about I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. I slam it on the down to make sure it's broke. You know, like the second that he says that, you get the whole thing playing in your head. It's actually kind of distracting because you have 2 songs playing in your head. You have the song that you're listening. It's kind of like calling something Tiger style. It's like making reference to that. And I think most of Mach-Hommy's fans are very rap literate. We'll get that going in there. And then I think the title really ties into this idea where he talks, try to put your boy in ESL, I'm a literary giant. So I imagine he's talking about English as a second language, which are very important classes. ESL teachers need to be cherished and paid triple what they're paid. Okay? Just ESL is super important to the American experiment because we're helping people who don't speak English learn to speak English so that they can thrive in American society. If you know an ESL teacher, give him a high five. Even my ex-wife. What the hell? But, you know, I think what he's saying here is that, like, he was frustrated because he felt ostracized. A lot of people who take ESL feel ostracized. And I imagine maybe when he was a child, moved to Newark from Haiti, or I don't know exactly his story because he's mysterious. But you sort of get that sense. And I think he's trying to say I'm a literary giant. That's why it's called Shakespeares, because he's trying to make this argument that he is a literary genius and giant, which he is. I like the God Fahim's verse. Again, just goofy. Green and red sports car. Inside like Luigi, outside Mario. Courtside, there he go. It's just... I don't know, man. I love Mario Kart too. I'm waiting for those new DLC tracks just like you are. I don't know. It sounds like a really ugly sports car. Like green on the inside, red on the outside. Everywhere I go, it's like a fashion show burial, looking like money, always dressed to this scenario. Carry on, we're going to run the track like a marathon. Rap Optimus rhyme, my microphone Megatron. It's awesome. I'm now that I figured it out right here, I'm just psyched. Rap Optimus rhyme, my microphone Megatron. That's great. I had a lot of Transformers as a kid, and my mom would not let me get Megatron because she didn't let me play with guns. She would like open up Star Wars toys and just dump the accessories into the trash just straight off. Just like, you're not going to be doing this. So I never got Megatron. But she couldn't stop me from going like this and pretending I was Megatron. Allow me to introduce myself so I can reintroduce myself. Another great line, which I think might work its way into my general vocabulary. Fahim says at the end of his verse, we're smoking top 3 if you smoking top 5. I think this is in conversation with Kendrick Lamar, talking about smoking on top 5s. We should have an escalation here. Eventually people are just going to be smoking their zeros. Tiger Bomb Ultra, the first track produced by Craven on the album, pitched up samples, like the notes, the horns at the end are like da-da-da, kind of catchy and nice. Fahim is the lead here. He says, I overstand the story, which Titus from Kimmy Schmidt says, I don't just understand, I overstand. I don't know if he's making a Titus reference. That's kind of a deep cut. I can't imagine Mach and Fahim in the studio, you know, like kicking around and using their balance show matchbooks to whatever. Just kicking around, watching Kimmy Schmidt, but who knows. I really like the back and forth. The thing about Mach and Fahim really is that it's clear they're friends. It's clear they work together. It's clear they like being together. When I was on that whole minor work thing, there is something like this is an added value, even though I prefer Mach's work without Fahim. There is an added value with Fahim. It's like it's its own thing. And, him saying, take you to the moon like Neil Arm, and then all of a sudden Mach comes on and says strong. 2 standard deviations from being a big star. I like this verse, although, again, I didn't make much out of it. And then someone named Juju Gotti pops on, who I was looking up, and he does sports radio with Dan Le Batard. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? He's on this album a couple times. He has a nice raspy voice, makes reference to Chopper City and the Ghetto. Again, it's hard for me to listen to these albums because I've already got Tiger Style stuck in my head. And then I have I Ain't No Joke, I Used to Let the Mic Smoke. And now he says Chopper City and the Ghetto, and I'm immediately thinking of Bling Bling, which was off of that album. If you ever watched that Dead End Hip Hop, most overlooked rap albums of the 90s, I believe they make reference to that. It's a great album. Bling Bling's a great song, great single. So anyways, when I listen, the references are dangerous because all of a sudden I'm thinking about something else. Speaking of references, we get the next song, Blue Hill at Stone Barns. This is produced by the God Fahim himself. The God Fahim produces a lot of beats, but this is my favorite beat of his. This really mournful beat with these string lead and kind of chunky drums. It actually really reminds me of... It reminds me of a Woo affiliate beat, like Mathematics or Fourth Disciple. I don't know. There's so many of those guys. But this reminds me of like a very clearly, not the RZA level, but the guys right underneath who made a lot of great beats, especially like on Ghostface second solo album, stuff like that. So some of their production is better than some of RZA's productions. And this kind of has that feel to me. Anyways, going back to the references, apparently Blue Hill at Stone Barns is a restaurant. In Tarrytown, Long Island. I've never been there. I'd like to go. I think Tarrytown is where, speaking of the Headless Horseman, where that took place. We're not speaking of the Headless Horseman. I just have this decapitated duck. And speaking of duck, this verse here, now we're eating dinners, an entree full of them ducks. So I think it's probably a reference to eating. I mean, I understand that duck season is the idea is that they're killing you and you're dead and you're a bad rapper and you're just a duck and they're duck hunters. But what I like about it is that it's emphasizing the luxury of duck. And there's one thing I try to do on this channel. There's multiple things I try to do on this channel. If you're an American, Thanksgiving is coming up. Abandon turkey. It's dry, it's nasty. The best thing you can do with the turkey is go, wow, that was pretty good. Duck. Go with duck. It's smaller, but it's better. Just dry age a duck. Oh, you will never have a turkey again. You can get the rest of the fixings if you want, but duck is like the best meat. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy that they're doing some advertising here for duck. Feel free. If you want, I got 3,000 followers on Instagram. If you make duck and write the word duck season on it, I'll share your picture on my Instagram. That's how much I want to support the duck industry. I'm sorry, ducks, I love you, but your food is too good. Mach's verse, more flipping stuff. I flip you like Andy Warhol's wig. There's Andy Warhol. I like that because I think what he's doing, because Andy Warhol did wear a wig, very smart guy. He wore a white wig when he was a young man because he knew he was going to be balding and he knew he'd look old, he'd look ridiculous with a non-white wig when he's older. So he looked older than he was when he was younger, so that when he was older, he would look the same as he did when he was younger. No genius for his genius. But I think what he's actually doing is referencing a very specific famous portrait of Andy Warhol where his hair is kind of like up. So again, these references, like doinkage, like his hair is like that. Well, yeah, I got too much gel. I can't screw up my hair. But it's a very specific reference, and much like I've already got Rakim and BG and Tyga Style in my head, I now have the image of Andy Warhol's, face from his 80s self-portrait. I think this is my favorite flow on the album by Mach-Hommy. This is where you really see his artistry, and you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to the details, because he has this... he has this ability to play where he's very good at whispering and rapping slowly, but then he can also turn up the heat and turn up the aggression and the relentlessness of his flow. And then while he's doing that, he also starts adding in a little bit of his sing-song style, where at the end of the sentence, he'll do a little song. So just the rhythms and the cadences and the building and the slowing and the... It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's a lot of what makes Mach-Hommy, probably now in my top 5. So, Your Old Droog is on here. I don't think I'm going to get to his most recent album. There's just too much good music coming out. Too much music I want to talk about as well. But hey, if a lot of people have been pissed at me for not releasing this review, so feel free to say, Yod when, Open Mic Eagle when. I'm probably going to get to that in December, by the way. But I like Your Old Droog, as always. I know a couple cats who ain't lived long enough to see Jigga in dreads. These guys are smart. They're playing. They're playing around. So they're talking about... I think this is intentional, because obviously the fact that Jay-Z has dreadlocks is kind of funny, right? It's just like, that's weird. This is weird. Like, Jay-Z doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would have dreadlocks. If you think about Jay-Z in 1997, okay, that's how you know. Go back to the Hard Knock Life video and say, hey, did you know in like 30 years you're going to have dreadlocks? He wouldn't believe you, But then I think... because like Jay-Z, not only does he collect Basquiat, he collects Warhols. As a matter of fact, the cover of the book Decoded is one of his Warhols. And so kind of playing around with like hair and great geniuses that inspire you. Warhol, Jay-Z, wig flipped hair. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think they're all kind of working together and they're all sort of doing these things. This is why... not infrequently, I get contacted by people who want my help on their master's projects or papers. Oh, man, I owe someone an email. If you're one of the people who's messaged me in the last week, 2 people messaged me about helping them with research papers on Mach-Hommy. And I want to help you. So hit me up again if I haven't responded, okay? In general, too, if that's the kind of... like, if you're working on research projects on anything in hip-hop related and you think you might want to talk to me about it, ask me. It actually helps me with my job because it shows that I'm doing something academic and not just sitting in my living room talking about Tiger Style. A really great line from Droog. It's crazy when your audience is posterity. Like, that's great. That's such a great line. His audience is posterity. There's levels to this ish. Just ask the engineer. Funny, cool, and then the beat just keeps playing. I just love it more and more. Like if you listen to this beat. Again, Fahim. Who would think that Fahim would have like one of the best beats on this album when Sadhu Gold and Craven are on here? But the bass line is ridiculously long. It's this very long descending bass line. It's quite nice. Next song is probably a little late on the album, although I do like it. Shimei Blues, produced by Sadhu Gold and Wino Willie. Actually, no, I like this song a lot. It's not a little light. Really cool, like underground, like the drums sound kind of underwater and the sounds sound kind of far away. At times there's some saxophone and xylophone to kind of like brighten up this beat, but in general it's kind of an underwater, dark, grimy beat. And then what are the first lyrics from Mach-Hommy? I feel like we was under the sea. So you get this whole under the sea vibe. Like the new Black Panther movie. It's going to be in the ocean a lot, I think. Looks like. I don't know. I'm going to go. Fed a sugar baby Yeezus to squeeze out a favor. Fed a sugar baby Yeezus to squeeze out a favor. Fed a sugar baby Yeezus to squeeze out a favor. Fed a sugar baby? Fed a sugar baby Yeezus to squeeze out a favor. Just have fun. Tell me. What does that mean? Tell me in the comments. Because it can't mean nothing. Because you can't come up with something that weird. You cannot come... because like sugar baby is its own expression, which I think is like somebody who's supported financially by a sugar daddy. So fed a sugar baby Yeezus to squeeze out a favor. So okay. Is he giving the album Yeezus to a woman who financially benefits from their sexual relationship? And he gives her Yeezus with the hope that that will lead to some kind of sexual favor. That's the best I can come up with. And I can tell you one thing. It's not that. But that's what I came up with. More just great, inscrutable mock lyrics. Need a craft single for the squares, yet all Care Bears get information. You talking spicy with the Haitians, there ain't no chair there to situate you all that capsation in the B-word's nature. So, craft singles, that's a cheese for the squares. Care Bears, I don't know. Talking spicy with Haitians, I guess like yelling at Haitians. No chair to situate yourself, like playing around there. And then capsation is the actual thing inside of spicy food that makes food spicy. All that's going on. And there's just those lines, which are very inscrutable. And I really like the back and forth on this song between the God and Mach. I wish they did that a little bit more like back and forth, like 1, 1, 1, 1. Next up is a skit, just a tiger style. Your style sucks, like an alley cat. Next up is Love is La with this very weird pitched up sample from Craven. I just want to be free, and this almost like underdog humming. Or like Matthew McConaughey in Wolf of Wall Street. Like I sort of picture him like humming underneath this. What I like here is that there's no drums for Mach's verse, but then Fahim comes on and he gets the drums, and finally the Juju guy sings this hook. He sings the hook at the end. I just want to be free, and it works really well all through these voices together. Gossamer Wings has this weird, maybe Curtis Mayfield sample. I can't quite figure out what it is. It's kind of this high-pitched soul sample. I really like the simplicity of Fahim. Again, triggers get squeezed like condiments gone empty. Society is shifty. This economy is tricky. There's also just a directness that I really do like with the God Fahim, and not just in comparison to the obscurity of Mach, but just triggers get squeezed like condiments gone empty. That's great. You get the image of like, you're at the end of the ketchup or whatever, and you're like squeezing, and you're doing the weird fart thing. Like that's how they're squeezing. Society is shifty. This economy is tricky. Yeah. It's true. Society is shifty. The economy is tricky. And then we get this Mach verse, which I think is sort of the essence of these kinds of projects. These lesser works, these EPs, these dumps, is just different ways of saying how he's going to flip you. I laugh about my image of Pusha T waking up in the morning, putting on a bathrobe and getting a pipe and having his coffee and looking out over a suburban lawn, thinking of different ways of talking about crack. What else rhymes with snow? Like that's sort of my image of Pusha T writing his lyrics. I sort of have a similar image of Mach, waking up, looking out. I assume he probably lives in Miami. I have no idea. Maybe he still lives in New Jersey. Like looking out over the Biscayne Bay or whatever, and just be like, what else can I flip you like today? I'll flip you like a vinyl drop. I'll flip you like foosball. Like just thinking about all the things that he can flip. Which is good, goofy, and not as elevated as that, but still very good. Wiz Marquee is the next song, which I guess is like a play on Biz Marquee, which is nice. Definitely the beginning has this quote, it's star time, and if you listen to the song Nobody Beats the Biz, they have some of the intro of James Brown. I believe it's at the Apollo. Ladies and gentlemen, it's star time. So I think it's not the same sample, another Sad Who Gold beat, but it's the same basic idea. So I think this is in conversation with Nobody Beats the Biz, which, by the way, there's another song stuck in my head. Like, there's nothing but songs that I like that they're referencing here. Great sort of droning sound, some feedback, a weird kind of junky drum beat. I don't know what he's rapping about. Christine, You Caught the Vapors, another Biz Marquee song. Not nearly as good as Nobody Beats the Biz. I'm going to put Vapors as one of the most overrated rap songs in rap history. And I love Biz Marquee way more than you do. So if you're mad at me, I actually like the Biz more than you do. But why is Vapors considered to be one of his great songs? I'll take Albee Square Mall over Vapors. Anyways, but Vapors, it's still a good song. I think it's overrated in his catalog, but still more references to Biz, which I like. I really like this weird sort of chorus. I told Wisdom we should run a Triz Nathan on his sister. Just a weird a weird line, you know. I mean, running trains is when two guys are having sex with a woman at the same time. I think when he's talking about it in the context of rapping with the god Fahim, the same way he's not actually talking about ducks. He's not talking about fucks, you know, like, it just rhymes. So demonetize me, dare you. You know, like, I think it's more that, like, the way they are together, that's how powerful they are. It's still kind of, you know, a little unpleasant, a little bit sexist. We'll get there in a second. Apparently the term Trisnathan was invented by Big Pun. So, I mean, that's actually, he was the first guy that I learned that term from, because in I'm Still Not a Player, it's just him, but then it was always like him and Fat Joe. So it's always a sort of like overwhelming mental imagery that would be put forth with that particular act. Have I asked you to smash the like bucket? I swore, okay? I barely ever swear. So I deserve a like for that and a subscription. Giving away vinyls over here, you know? I know there's other great YouTubers out here. Fantano just pissed off West Side Gun. I was jealous. I would love to be in a position where I could talk enough to West Side Gun where I could piss him off. It's okay. I'm still a little fish. I'm growing. And I'm growing with your subscriptions and with your likes and comments. That is, if I didn't lose all my mock fans for calling this a minor work. The next song is The Stamp, Turbo Tariff, and then we get to the song 30 Stone Grouper, which is the final song produced by Craven. Again, I don't know how he's able to make such cheesy sounding songs sound so good. This is like a gentle, soft rock groove with strings and a legato flute, you know, like a flute played very long notes, but it's just beautiful. Starts with the sing-songy style, Wish Somebody Hated Me the Way I Hate You. Speaking of more successful and, frankly, more entertaining YouTubers than me, let's talk about Sean C. So when Sean C reacted to the Nicholas Craven and Boldy James album, you know, he does these kind of reaction things, and he is really on fire. If you're not watching his stuff, by the way, because like I don't know why you wouldn't watch his stuff, but like his stuff on Ye was so well said and so well thought out. Like the rest of the Ye stuff, even like Volksgeist stuff, which I thought was good on it. I don't like Fantano stuff on. I think he's playing for clicks. But I mean, as far as like the whole YouTube sphere with dealing with Ye, I was blown away by Sean C's approach and how successful he was. Anyways, when he was listening to the album, at the very end, Boldy James uses the F slur, referring to homosexuals, you know. And Sean C was just like, oh man, why did you do that? You know? He's like, why did you do that? Like, this could have been a class. Even right now, you know, they're coming out. Craven's going to be selling that album, I believe, on November 11th. I'm going to buy it. It's a great cover. It's a great album. But I am a little hesitant because I don't want to support, like, come on, hip-hop. We're past using the F slur, you know? Like, this is not Eazy-E's anymore. So why am I talking about that? I'm talking about that because of the line that made me not want to review this album. And I'm quoting Mach-Hommy here. I find that all quiet, I think he says chicks, or quiet girls that read bell hooks tend to look like dudes. Foul. It's duck season, and that is foul. This right here, Mach-Hommy, I am challenging you to read this book. And just, come on, man. Oh, jeez, I sound like Biden. Come on, man. Don't be a Johnny Two-Sock. Okay, so this is the thing. So Bell Hooks died recently. It's very sad. And her name is mentioned a lot in hip-hop discourse. She wrote some of the most interesting stuff about the way that patriarchy hurts young black men. She writes a lot about the importance of feminism in hip-hop, and she does it without being preachy, without being, you know, sort of one of these figures who's just like, rap needs to stop, and too many B's and H's. Not at all. Like, she's a very interesting academic who's also very relatable. So I'm gonna take some time to read some bits from this book. Feminism is for Everybody. This book is very easy to read. I teach a class on feminist theory and feminist masculinity. When contemporary feminist movement first began, there was a fierce anti-male faction. later. And they used anger as a catalyst for women's liberation. As the movement progressed, as feminist thinking advanced, enlightened feminist activists saw that men were not the problem, that their problem was patriarchy, sexism, and male domination. So that's the kind of thinking that she provides. Okay? Let me go even further. What is and was needed is a version of masculinity where self-esteem and self-love of one's unique being forms the basis of identity. Cultures of domination attack self-esteem, replacing it with the notion that we derive our sense of being from domination over another. Self-love. One of the best songs on this album. Self-love. Self-love. With Mach-Hommy's major works, not his minor works, where he's talking about how he's going to flip you like Flip Wilson, or flip you like Chobani yogurt. You can use that, because they have flips where you put the cookies inside the yogurt. It's very good. I'm going to flip you like Chobani. Where he's not talking about flipping people or dumping or ducks. He's talking a lot about self-love. It's one of those great things that's been happening in hip-hop, where rap artists have been understanding that so much of their oppression has been internalized into self-hatred. So racism has made them hate themselves, has then made them externalize that hatred towards others, and once they can learn to love themselves, they can be complete people and be happy. Which is the ultimate goal. It's not to be rich, it's to be happy, okay? Everyone tries to get rich because they confuse that with being happy, but that's not actually the path to happiness. And no one understands that better, I think, than Mach-Hommy. So when he comes out here attacking bell hooks and people who read bell hooks, it's hypocritical. Because bell hooks' mission is the same mission as his. Cultures of domination. Avoiding cultures of domination. Domination of the French and the white people in Haiti and the Western civilization and all of goddamn history against that island. Okay? Racism in America. Okay? The whole thing is we need something, it's called intersectional. That's the term. Intersexual feminism, intersectional race studies, it's what is needed. Because the forces of oppression that come from people who look like me, who have my privilege and my life experience, okay? Me, personally, Professor Sky, actually me, I actually represent the entire dominant class, okay? What's needed is not to fight the white guy who is putting down the black guy. What is needed is not fighting the man who is putting down the woman. What is needed is to fight them together, because there are multiple systems of domination all at once. And to fight racism while supporting sexism is to support racism. Okay? And you can tell Joe Budden, and you can tell all the manosphere, you send them at me, okay? Send them. I'm ready. I don't care. If you are sexist, you are supporting racism. That's just how it is, because you're supporting systems of domination. So don't go around being Mach-Hommy and making me feel like finally someone is really addressing this question of self-love and fighting the cultures of domination, and then have this throw-off line where you look down on bell hooks and worse, people who read bell hooks. And not for nothing, but feminist women are more interesting, are better in bed, are actually usually better looking, okay? I've done research, all right? It's an old tired joke that feminists all look like this or look like that. Feminism is for everybody. And I would actually bet Mach-Hommy is actually a feminist, I think. But it's hard. It's hard. Because in the system of domination, people who look like me and who have experienced my level of privilege have been very well equipped to put people against each other. I'm going to twirl my mustache as my culture of domination continues its domination over the world. And only through working together can people like me, and who've had my experience, be overthrown. So that's why I almost didn't review this album. I will not abide. You can flip all the Chobani you want, but I will not abide flipping bell hooks. She shall not be flipped. Great song, though. I really like this song. I like Juju Gotti's got this great chorus. Sticks on your bando. I don't know, some kind of trap verse. I don't quite know what a bando is. I think Migos talk about it a lot. Too bad that guy got shot. And then Fahim really kind of outshines even Mach on this verse. Parading over rappers, day to day, not annual. I made it happen. I did it without a manual. You know my handle. The challenge would be a gamble. I spread light and knock your fire out with a candle. Now you can hold this L in front of your name like Samuel's. I flex greater styles than Danes. You are Cocker Spaniel. That great play, like lots of just all these rhymes. The annual rhyme, andle, gamble, candle. It's actually a double syllable rhyme. Samuel, gamble, manual, annual, right? It's not just one syllable. It's not just ope. I hope the soap's on a rope. It's annual, manual, gamble, right? And just, L in front of your name like Samuel L. Jackson. Funny. Cool. Great Danes, Cocker Spaniel. So there you go. There's my review. I told you I'd get a little bit preachy, but hey, feminism is for everybody. There is the Patreons who support me, who give me money so that I can do wonderful things like buy Balance Show and support one of the greatest hip-hop artists alive who is basically doing everything basically without a label, basically just by being just awesome. So thank you very much, because part of the way he can maintain his lifestyle is by having people who like him just pay, like, how much? All right. Until next time, there's the camera.